This is the story of how Love Island USA Season 7 stars Nick and Olandria became targets of a coordinated cancel campaign that critics openly admit is designed to isolate them before taking them down. Nicolandria, as fans call the couple, went from being favorites on the Love Island dating show to facing accusations that Taylor and others are questioning their legitimacy. And what started as criticism has turned into something much bigger, a conversation about who deserves fame, what qualifies as talent, and whether black women in the influencer space face impossible standards. If you're here for the tea on Ace, Nicolandria, and the Love Island USA drama with Sierra and the rest of the cast, smash that like button right now because this gets wild.
Here's where things get interesting. And when I say interesting, I mean calculated in a way that should make anyone uncomfortable. There's a group that calls themselves anti-Nick and Olandrian, which is exactly what it sounds like. People dedicated to bringing down Nick and Olandria from Love Island USA. But they're not going after both of them equally, and that's the part that matters. The strategy that's been described is to cancel Nick first, use that to isolate Olandria, and then cancel her afterward. Take down one half of the couple to weaken the other, then finish what they started. And the disturbing part is that they're not hiding this plan. When fans of Olandria hear about this campaign, and some of them actually start participating in the Cancel Nick movement, you have to wonder if they understand what they're doing. Are you really supporting Olandria if you're helping execute a strategy designed to destroy her next? This shows how cancel culture functions like chess when people treat it as strategy instead of accountability, working backward from their desired outcome and admitting it out loud.
One of the biggest accusations circulating is that Nick and Olandria weren't genuine Love Island contestants at all. Critics claim Olandria was sent by Love Island cast and Nick to purposefully be actors on the show, which sounds like a reality TV conspiracy theory because that's exactly what it is. The story goes that she wasn't there to find love, that producers paid her more than other contestants from day one and told her what role to play, and that she and Nick already knew each other before filming started. And before you believe that, hit subscribe because we're about to dismantle this nonsense piece by piece. People defending them point out something pretty obvious. If you actually watched Love Island USA Season 7, there's a scene where Nick and Olandria meet at the van for the first time, and their acting is apparently so unconvincing that believing they faked it requires ignoring what you saw with your own eyes. If they were planted actors with a pre-existing relationship, they did the worst job of pretending to meet that anyone's ever seen on television. This conspiracy theory serves a purpose, though, and that purpose is to delegitimize everything about their relationship and every opportunity that came after the show ended.
What often disappears from conversations about Nick and Olandria is what happened in late 2025, when they led a charity campaign that raised over $70,000 in 24 hours. The money went to foundations supporting type 1 diabetes and lupus research, done in honor of their mothers. And $70,000 in one day is not a small accomplishment. But when your goal is canceling someone, their charitable work becomes inconvenient information that doesn't support the narrative you're building. It's easier to call them shallow, fame-hungry reality stars when you pretend the charity campaign never happened. If you think raising $70K for disease research in 24 hours deserves recognition, go ahead and like this video, because apparently that gets overlooked. What this tells you is that criticism of Nick and Olandria isn't really about holding them accountable for anything specific. People who are dedicated to disliking them can't even pause to acknowledge when they do something genuinely good, which reveals that the issue was never about their actions in the first place.
The main complaint people have crystallizes into one question. What has Olandria actually done to deserve these opportunities? Critics argue she doesn't have real talent and has no real purpose, attending high-profile events she keeps getting invited to, and they're particularly bothered that she showed up at the Golden Globes. Just being on Love Island isn't enough to earn a Golden Globes invitation, according to these critics. And on the surface, that sounds like a reasonable standard to apply. What has she done beyond appearing on a dating show? But this is where the conversation gets complicated, and this is where you start seeing the double standard that supporters keep pointing out.
Let's talk about Kim Kardashian for a moment and what her claim to fame was at the beginning. Think fast. What did Kim actually do that made her famous? In the beginning, nobody took Kim Kardashian seriously as anything other than Paris Hilton's assistant, which is what she was. The Kardashian name carried some recognition because her father, Robert, was involved in the O.J. Simpson trial, but Kim herself hadn't done anything noteworthy, and her personal tape with Ray J gave her a bump in visibility, but that's not exactly a traditional path to legitimacy. What talent did she demonstrate that landed her and her entire family a reality TV show? The answer is none, at least not in the way people define talent when they're criticizing Olandria.
The show Keeping Up with the Kardashians turned out to be incredibly successful and entertaining, giving audiences amazing seasons filled with drama and moments that became part of pop culture. Kim eventually became a brilliant businesswoman who built Skims and fragrance lines into ventures worth potentially billions of dollars. But none of that existed when she started. She was an influencer who got a TV show and worked her way up the social ladder, facing years of hate that continues even now. But she was allowed the time and space to build everything that came after. Nobody organized campaigns to cancel Kim before she could launch her first business or attend her first major event. Why is Olandria being held to a different standard when her journey just started?
Here's another comparison worth examining. India Westbrook, who goes by India Love in the industry. Her claim to fame was being a very pretty girl who posted very pretty pictures on Tumblr. And that's literally the entire foundation of her career. Tumblr photos pushed India Love into becoming the influencer we know today, and she's been around for as long as many people can remember. Her career, for 10 to 15 years, has been based on being an influencer first and everything else second. She got her family a reality show called The Westbrooks that didn't perform well. She had a period where she was signed with will.i.am working on music, and more recently she's been trying music and streaming to find purpose beyond photography. But for over a decade, her job has been taking pretty pictures and maintaining influence. And if you're thinking, wait, why does India get a pass but Olandria doesn't? You're starting to see the problem. Drop a like if this is making sense. Nobody's organizing mass cancel campaigns against India Love for building a career without traditional talent before fame arrived. Nobody's questioning whether she deserved the opportunities she received, and the difference in how these two women are treated should make you wonder what's really driving the criticism.
Let's look at people from the same show that launched Nicolandria, Cordell and Serena from Love Island. What was their claim to fame before appearing on the dating show? Cordell is siblings with NFL player Odell Beckham Jr., but most viewers didn't even know that connection when they were contestants. Cordell picked up acting recently, which means he didn't have that career when he was on Love Island USA. Both of them have been promoting brands, landing magazine covers, shooting commercials, and accepting various opportunities because that's what you do after leaving a show like Love Island. You find love first, and then you find the money. Letting that opportunity disappear would be foolish. Nobody's questioning whether Cordell and Serena deserve what they got after the show ended, and nobody's admitting they want to cancel Cordell to isolate and destroy Serena afterward. The treatment is completely different, even though the circumstances are nearly identical. Why is Olandria being singled out when others from her own show aren't facing this campaign?
This is where we have to address what people don't want to say out loud, but everyone's thinking. There's an argument that when the person succeeding is black, especially when that person is a black woman, the standards change and the expectations multiply. The perspective being raised is that black people need to be dribbling a basketball, throwing a football, boxing, singing, rapping, or performing some form of traditional entertainment to be considered worthy of elite spaces. When a black woman enters those spaces for being on a reality show and being beautiful, something about that makes people deeply uncomfortable. Subscribe if you want more honest conversations like this one, because we're not dancing around it. Can people accept that Olandria is attending high-profile events just for being on Love Island USA and being beautiful? Is that what's really driving this anger?
Because when you're honest about it, plenty of non-black influencers built entire careers on less substantial foundations, and they were welcomed into exclusive spaces, given opportunities to grow their brands, and allowed time to develop without organized campaigns to destroy them before they could establish themselves. Olandria is described in the Love Island community as a beautiful chocolate girl who became a fan favorite during Season 7, building what people call a cult-like following in less than a year. When brands notice that following and the social media attention she generates, of course they want her wearing their products and representing them at events. She's described as professional, educated, and someone who carries herself with dignity. If brands feel she's worthy of representation, why does she need to justify that worthiness to internet critics who weren't part of the business decision?
Something important that keeps getting ignored. It hasn't even been a full year since Love Island USA Season 7 aired. Olandria's career is in the beginning stages, meaning she's still figuring out what this all looks like. Why does she need to launch a business overnight or become an actress immediately, or prove herself in ways that took other influencers years to develop? Why can't she be on a promotional run right now, attending as many events as possible, building name recognition, and establishing herself before making next-level career moves? Let her take the time she needs, and even if she's just building herself as an influencer during this phase, that's a legitimate career path in 2026. You don't have to be tall to model anymore, and she's modeling clothes for brands that want her representation. She doesn't need runway experience to be considered a model. People speculate that because she appears to have a solid team managing her career, they're probably planning her next moves already. Maybe acting classes and attempts to land a role on a show like All American. Maybe launching a brand focused on hair care or clothing or something else entirely. Maybe starting a podcast to build a different kind of audience. But right now she's building name recognition, and that's what this phase is designed to do. People will judge her harshly when she expands her portfolio, probably more harshly than they judge anyone else because they've already decided she's not deserving, which means she should take her time and make sure whatever she does next is executed flawlessly. And if you think she deserves that time without a cancel campaign trying to destroy her, hit that like button.
What is Olandria actually doing with her time and platform? Based on available information, she's been making red carpet appearances, she had a magazine photo shoot released on December 18th, and she's working with various brands that want her representing their products. She's building her influencer career the same way countless people before her have done, which is the path Love Island USA contestants are expected to take after the show ends. There's footage of someone, presumably Nick, giving a virtual tour of what he jokingly calls Bama Barbie Bazaar, Vietnam, even though it was shot in LA. They're looking through photo shoot images together, commenting on different looks and styling choices. He describes one shot as his favorite, calling it very elegant and giving off 1700s king and queen vibes, with regal Bridgerton energy that makes the shoot feel expensive. Another image gets praised for its lighting, possibly capturing an actual sunset instead of using artificial lighting setups.
They're joking around in the footage, showing behind-the-scenes content to fans, building their couple brand together in a way that influencers do. Someone in the comments asks if they'll ever take pictures together for a magazine, and the response is, "You must have missed December 18th," confirming they've already done couple shoots. This is what influencer life looks like when you're building a career, creating content, doing professional shoots, engaging with your audience, constructing a narrative. It's work, even if it doesn't look like traditional employment to people who don't understand the industry.
What frustrates people defending Olandria is that this feels like part of a pattern that keeps repeating. When black women enter spaces traditionally dominated by white women, especially industries like influencing and fashion and entertainment, they face scrutiny that operates on a different level entirely.
They're expected to prove themselves in ways others never had to prove anything, expected to have everything figured out immediately instead of being allowed to develop naturally, expected to demonstrate talent and purpose and worthiness, while white influencers who built careers on identical or thinner foundations never faced those demands. When they do achieve success despite these obstacles, there are always people organizing to tear them down, questioning whether they really deserve what they earned, creating campaigns designed to cancel them before they can establish themselves permanently. Subscribe if you're tired of watching this happen over and over, because it's exhausting.
Someone commented that y'all just mad that she not on here hip rocking on TikTok and she rocking them hips down the runway. And there's truth in that observation. When a black woman finds success in a way that doesn't fit the narrow boxes people created for what black women are supposed to do for entertainment, it creates discomfort that manifests as criticism and cancel campaigns. Here's what's almost funny about this entire situation. The people organizing to cancel Nick and Olandria are so dedicated to disliking them that they can't focus on their own favorite Love Island contestants. They're so consumed with destroying this couple that has become their entire online identity. Think about the absurdity of that for a moment. You're spending time and energy organizing campaigns against reality TV stars instead of simply not watching them, not following them, not engaging with their content at all.
If you genuinely believed Olandria didn't deserve the opportunities she's receiving, the solution would be incredibly simple. Ignore her completely. Don't click on her posts, don't follow her social media accounts, don't give her the attention that makes her valuable to brands in the first place. But that's not what's happening, and that's not what these critics want. Instead, they're so invested in watching her fail that they're keeping her relevant through constant criticism and attempts to cancel her, which is the exact opposite of what would actually make her go away. The irony is that they're helping her career while trying to destroy it.
Let's step back and ask a bigger question that nobody seems to want to address. What does it actually mean to deserve fame in 2026? The entertainment industry transformed completely over the past 2 decades. You don't need a talent scout to discover you anymore. You don't need to work your way up through traditional channels that gatekeepers controlled. And social media democratized fame in ways that were impossible when Kim Kardashian was starting out. People become famous now for going viral with a dance, for posting a funny video at the right moment, for being in the right place when something happens, for appearing on reality TV shows specifically designed to manufacture new celebrities from unknown people. Love Island USA exists to take relatively unknown contestants and turn them into influencers. That's not a secret or a scandal, that's the explicit business model. The show creates fame, and then contestants leverage that fame into careers, which is what everyone involved understands from the beginning.
When people say Olandria doesn't deserve the fame she got from Love Island Season 7, what they're really arguing is that the show shouldn't exist, that people shouldn't be allowed to become famous from reality television, that there's something fundamentally wrong with the entire reality TV to influencer pipeline that's been functioning for years. And if you think that criticism is ridiculous, smash that like button and let me know in the comments. But that's not Olandria's problem to solve, and it's not her responsibility to fix how fame works in 2026. She played by the rules of the game as they currently exist. She appeared on a dating show, people connected with her, brands noticed the attention she was getting, and now she's building a career from that foundation. That's how this works now, and pretending otherwise is dishonest.
Here's where we are after looking at all of this. Nick and Olandria, 2 people who appeared on Love Island USA Season 7 looking for love, are now targets of a coordinated cancel campaign where critics openly admit the goal is taking down Nick first to isolate Olandria before canceling her too. The stated reason is that she lacks talent and doesn't deserve the opportunities she's receiving. But when you examine how other influencers have been allowed to build careers on similar or thinner foundations, especially white influencers who faced nothing like this organized campaign, a different picture emerges that's uncomfortable to look at directly.
Kim Kardashian went from being Paris Hilton's assistant to building a billion-dollar empire, and nobody tried to cancel her before she had a chance to start. India Love built a decade-long career on pretty Tumblr photos and maintained it without facing coordinated destruction campaigns. Countless other Love Island contestants leveraged their time on dating shows into successful careers without anyone questioning their worthiness.
But Olandria, a black woman who's been in the public eye for less than a year, gets expected to have already proven herself worthy in ways these others never had to demonstrate. She's supposed to have launched businesses, developed traditional talents, and justified her existence in elite spaces before she's even had time to figure out what her long-term career should look like. She and Nick raised over $70,000 in a single day for charity, supporting diabetes and lupus research. They're building their brands together, creating content that audiences want, doing exactly what anyone in their position would do after leaving Love Island, USA. The question isn't whether Olandria deserves the opportunities she's getting. The question is why she's being held to standards that others never faced, and why people are so invested in watching her fail that they're organizing campaigns to make it happen.
It's been less than a year since Love Island aired, and maybe we could give her the same grace period to develop that we've given countless others before her. But something tells me that's not going to happen, because this was never about talent or worthiness or who deserves what opportunities. This was always about who people think belongs in certain spaces and who they think doesn't. And that's the real story nobody wants to admit out loud. If this video opened your eyes to what's really happening with Nicolandria, Ace, Taylor, Sierra, and the rest of the Love Island USA drama, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we're covering all of it. Drop a like if you think Nicolandria deserve better, and let me know in the comments whether you think this cancel campaign is about talent or something else entirely.